Hey, g'day. We're back.
Where you been, mate?
Hey, we've been. Well, MotoGP and F1 have a winter break, don't they? A
Summer break.
Summer break.
You've had a winter break, haven't
We've
you?
had a winter, summer and Christmas.
Been a while.
Just all rolling one. Well, you know, this is what we could explain to everyone. Like, we actually got other stuff to do. You got businesses to run.
Yep.
I've got a few projects I've been doing.
Bit of car wash.
Yeah,
Boat
car
wash.
washing,
Yeah.
boat washing.
How's that going?
It's going all right.
Is it?
Yeah, it's actually not bad gear.
Good.
It's actually really good gear.
Okay, that's good, mate.
So yeah, a few little projects, and yeah, that's what we always said about people with this show, that like at the end of the day, you know, we just did it for shits and giggles and all the rest of it, and 3.5 years later we're still
rocking
popping
along.
up, and there's no use putting a show on just if there's nothing to talk about, and really there hasn't been a great deal. There's been a bit of racing going on, but nothing we can drive our teeth into.
But now you got some juicy bits, have you?
Well, you know what it's like, dude. How many people bail you up at race meetings? You know, like at clubby meetings, and going, "Oh, I want to hear about, you know, stuff about Formula One or Supercars or different types of racing." So what's the two things that you've been asked the most just recently? See if they align with mine.
Well, when's the next show? I get that a lot.
Yeah. Now, right?
Well, F1.
Yeah.
Probably the Piastri deal.
Correct.
At the moment. And then the state of play with Supercars.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And they're the two things we're going to talk about.
Okay.
And we're going to dedicate it towards those two because I think we want to explain it properly, because it's fair. Both those subjects are fairly intricate in explaining what's going on, and also sourcing the right people to get the right information.
Yeah, it's a good one, Russ, because you get the comments we do get back is, "Oh, you guys tell it like it is."
Yeah.
So let's just tell it like it is.
Well, and people, and our phones still, you know, we can still call people up within the know. We know enough people around the place, almost around the world, you know, that we can actually call up and get some info. So let's start with the Oscar Piastri. Formula One, unless you're not a motorsport fan or living on a different planet, I think everyone's pretty aware of what's going on there. And it's a bit of a... It's good in one respect, that it looks like Oscar, after his fantastic run of championships.
Well, that's no one's done that, have they?
No.
Gone bang, bang, bang.
Yep. Every category each year.
Every category, as a rookie,
Yep.
in F3 and F2 wins the title, you would expect you'd be plumb drive for an F1 seat.
Absolutely.
But he's a bench warmer, so you're going to do whatever you can do to get in the car, aren't you?
Well, the good thing about it is it looks like he's going to get, well, hopefully, he's going to get a gig in F1, which he deserves. But the negative to that is the way it's all played out, and the way some of the media has portrayed it, and that it's very... it's taken a bit of the gloss off of it, you know, that it's got to this situation where all of a sudden, you know, there's a lot of positive reaction, but there's a lot of negative reaction as well. So this is what we want to break down.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you're negative to what's going on there, you don't know what you're talking about. Because
Exactly right.
if you're a race car driver and you're that good, you deserve to be in a car.
Yeah.
And he didn't spend all that money and all the people behind him to get to where he was just to watch other people drive around. So,
You got it. Yeah.
you know, he's got to go.
Okay, dude, let's break this down, right? Now, I've got some sheets that I've got information here, because I've got to be a little bit delicate about this, because the source that's given me all this information we're about to talk about, right, has actually got a financial involvement into Oscar, right, and has done right from the beginning. They obviously don't want to be quoted on it because, like I said, the delicate situation because of the potential litigation that could be going on with Alpine. So we obviously don't want to do anything to jeopardise that. But at the same boat, I said to this source, I said, sometimes sitting on the sidelines and not saying anything makes you look guilty.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So I think one side, which is Alpine, has definitely given plenty of views and lip service to the situation, whereas I think the other side hasn't said anything at all. And I only know too well about those sort of situations, because I used to get myself in plenty. And I said, as soon as I drove out of the track, I thought, that stays at the track, where others would keep blowing up, and you sort of went against you that you didn't say anything or defend yourself. So, after hours and hours of conversation, that it was quite interesting to actually hear some of the facts on Oscar's run through the feeder categories and to the current F1 situation. So I think the first thing to be addressed is that Alpine has come out and stated that they've spent several, if not tens of millions of dollars on the development of Oscar, all the way through to his current position as, reserve driver.
Yep.
Now, it was stated that millions of dollars were paid in his F2.
Oh, to contributing to his budget through F2.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, the figures that I've been given is that Alpine paid €500,000 of an over €3 million
Euro
budget, right?
Yep.
The rest was paid by his sponsor, HP Tuners, and another consortium of backers and investors.
Yeah.
So that's the fact there. So they didn't pay.
Mate, and I reckon that's parallel to what a Red Bull junior driver would get. Like the drivers bring a budget.
Exactly right.
Those teams come along and top them up a bit and put an option on them so they can grab them if they need them. That's they give them put a bit of money in their pocket just so they can, if they want them, they can grab them.
So I think it's important to clear that one up.
Yep.
So again, that's the figures we've been told there. And like I said, the backers themselves have put in the majority of the money towards that.
So I think you just need to clarify that too for everyone else. Like those feeder categories, the drivers aren't getting paid. They're paying to be there. It's not like Moto 2 and Moto 3. It's a big difference, right? So all those people are in there putting money in to drive those cars to try and get to F1. So Alpine haven't backed him all the way.
No, not at all. Yeah. Not at all. There's still been other people along that have paid for all that, even before F2, all the way through.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important factor. It was also interesting to hear from the Alpine statements, and this is from Otmar, the team principal, saying that there's €25 million that we've invested into him through all the testing. But hang on, he's a reserve test driver. So either way, F1 teams go out and test, and they use their reserve driver. To suddenly put a figure on that, I find quite bizarre. Because you can't say, well, okay, we want all that money back because you tested our car.
It was last year's car too, wasn't it?
Last year's car, yeah.
So they're not running that round for the fun of it. It's doing system checks or it's doing some work.
Yeah,
and if Oscar wasn't driving it, someone else would be.
Exactly right. Exactly. So they'd be even paying someone else to do it. So at the end of the day, they're out there testing, they're doing it. That's what he's doing. To suddenly put a figure on that and saying, oh, well, you have to pay all that back, allegedly, that's another thing that has to be clarified too, because the word that I've got is that he is technically excellent. He is a very, very good test driver. His simulation work is second to none. The engineers apparently just rave about how technical the kid is, right? So it's obviously an advantage, or been an advantage for Alpine to have him in a test car anyway. Yes, he's getting miles, which will help his development, but at the end of the day, he deserved to be in there because technically he's very good.
He's a smart kid, mate. Like the school that he went to in England, he was there on an academic scholarship.
Yep.
So he's a very smart kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's not.
No.
And he needed that to get over there to pay his way through school.
Yep.
So that's an interesting fact as well, and something that has to be cleared up. So what I'm trying to do is, or what we're trying to do, is tick off each thing that's been a negative that's been in the general media.
Yeah, well, they know he's going. They're just trying to muddy the waters and make it hard for him.
But that's exactly why. Let's work on facts.
Yeah.
Well, ledge facts anyway. Now comes to the sticky bit, right, about the contract side of it, and we can't, and the source couldn't go too deep into that because of, like I said, pending litigation. So there's statements going out that there was a Williams deal on the table.
Yep.
That's apparently definitely not the case. There was no contact with Williams. There wasn't a Williams deal. So
you wouldn't be aiming for that either, would you? In his position,
probably not. No. You might as well stay with. You might as well, if there's a chance that Alpine do that. So let's cross.
So that might make sense.
Yeah. So let's cross that one off the list there. But there wasn't even an offer on the table. So again, that rumour is incorrect. Now it comes into the situation between having an Alpine contract, which, by reading other articles, this July 31st thing comes up. But where it all sort of got a little bit in a whirlwind was that at the stage where talks were happening with McLaren about a potential position there, there was no signed or potential deal with Alpine.
Okay.
Because at that stage, Alonso was staying there, right? There was no indication he was going anywhere. They were still negotiating with him. It wasn't until it got to the situation where Alonso dropped the bomb and said, "I'm out of here." And they went, "Oh, okay.
Here we go.
That's all right. We'll just
grab him."
Grab him. Now, between then, an agreement had been struck with McLaren, but the issue there was everyone assumed that Alpine had no idea this was happening. Well, the information I've been given that they were actually informed that they'd been approached by another team, whether it was McLaren, by another team, and they were looking at that, and there was no objection to it. So they were up front, being
so
Oscar's management.
But it wouldn't be either, mate. Like if you're running that Alpine team and you see Ricciardo's not performing and Lando is, Zach Brown collects racing drivers.
Yeah.
He's going to be going for your driver.
Yeah. Well, apparently it was all on the table.
Yeah.
So they say it was no surprise.
Not going to be a surprise.
It's not like they ambushed it. It was like at that stage, Oscar didn't have a steer. There was plenty of promises. Oh, we'll look after you. No problems. Look, trust us.
Find you something.
I think the words were trust us. We'll look after you. But there was no deal on the table. And if there's nothing there, and you're just a reserve driver, and someone in his position, he cannot afford to sit on the sidelines another year.
No way.
If he sat on the sidelines, be gone.
Be gone. And it's nothing. This should not be a surprise to Alpine, and they've just got sidelined by Alonso moving and tried to pick up the pieces, but too late, mate. Someone else has nicked your girlfriend.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's how it's all played out. So you can almost start to picture it. You picture it, okay, well, I'm not going to get a drive here. They'd already made some previous statements saying that they could farm him out to other teams.
Yeah.
That's probably what they got the nose out of joint.
Probably thought they'd pop him there for a while and get him back.
Yeah, exactly right. So at the end, there was no surprises. So he went out, and then when the Alonso thing, oh, well, hang on. No, you can't go there. You have to go in our car. So that's the problem. This is where it went all a bit pear-shaped. So it was a bit, but if I was in that position, I would have done exactly the same thing. Like at the end of the day, it's such a cutthroat industry, like we've talked about, that you can't not take the opportunity if it arises. Like if the opportunity's there, and we don't get emotional about the whole Ricciardo thing as well. And people, I've read comments about, you're putting Ricciardo out of a drive.
Yeah, he is. But for a good reason. Ricciardo's not fast enough.
Well, you can't. The word is, and again, this is from the source, right? Is that Ricciardo was out no matter what.
Well, that wouldn't surprise him.
He was out. He was, whether Oscar went there or not.
Yeah.
He was gone. So that's the fact of the matter is, that was going to happen. So there's no backdooring.
Yep.
It was just there's a position there. And obviously there was going to be a position because why would McLaren approach Oscar about a drive, right?
If they didn't have a plan for him.
If they didn't have a spot for him.
Yeah.
They weren't going to grab him and put him on the sidelines for a year like Alpine were doing. So, I mean, it all makes sense. Once you look at the logic of everything, it all actually makes sense.
And then Zach Brown's always been aggressive in collecting drivers, and he's doing the same thing with IndyCar now. Like, he knows to win races, you've got to have the best drivers in your car. And that's one of the best talents to come along for a long time. It can't be surprised to Alpine that someone else has nicked him.
Oh, no. And like I said, they informed Alpine.
Yeah.
They were in negotiations with it. Whether that was stated particularly McLaren or not, they were in negotiations with another team.
So fast forward.
Yep.
What's going to happen? How do you think it'll play out?
Well, I mean, they've got a. It's just funny reading those things about Flavio Briatore being involved in all this. That was, like I said, my source said. That's just all. Again, people, just some parts of the media trying to stir the pot and make some sort of conspiracy theory out of it all. But at the end of the day, there's Mark Webber and Ann Neal, and I know Ann Neal very well. She ran Formula Ford.
She did
when I was in UK.
Yeah.
Good operator, had a lot to do with getting Mark to the heights that he reached as well. So she's a good peddler, knows the industry. So there's no doubt about it that they know the system. Mark Webber knows the system as well. He was around it long enough that he knows you have to grab the opportunities as they come up. So in my personal opinion, I think they've done the right thing, and let's think about this at the time that all this was going down. There was no drive with Alpine. There was a potential drive with another team, another top team. You got to grab it.
No, he's there to race the car, not watch him go around. So, what's the pitch going to look? What's the grid going to look like in 2023, Russ? Who's going to be driving the McLarens? Come on.
Oh, I think that no doubt there will be Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, good. Oh, okay, that'll be good, won't it?
Yeah.
And what happens to Ricciardo?
I believe, in my personal opinion, the deal's done. So that's it. Ricciardo.
Deal's done.
I don't know too much there whether he will end up at Alpine.
Yeah.
You know what? This is not anything that no sources have told me, but I'd like to see him in IndyCar. I think Daniel Ricciardo in an IndyCar. He lives and spends a lot of time in America. Loves the place.
He's well known there now too through that Netflix documentary. He's got a big profile there.
He's got the mentality too, He's such
Maybe we'll see him in a cup car.
Well, he's either one. His persona would be so good in an American racing series. Because he's sort of out there fun. Yeah. And all their drivers all the drivers have got personalities and they got a bit of grunt. And, I think it would suit him so much better. And at the end of the day, yes, he'd probably love to be an F1 world champion, but realistically, like every other motorsport in the world, unless you're with one of the two top teams, and there's always only two top teams, you're not going to win.
Yep.
You're not going to win a championship unless you're with, Ferrari or Red Bull or
whoever's on top at the time.
Yeah, he had his Red Bull charts, and probably made a few wrong manoeuvres along the way, but. The thing about it is, let's talk about, okay, so that's that side of it. So that is the fact, very simple, very facts of what actually staged all the way through this situation, right? So to me, as far as Oscar Piastri goes and his management and his sponsors, I think they've legitimately, in my personal opinion, done the right thing. Done. But let's look at the after effects of all that. Right, and I'd be real interested to get your opinions on all of this. And this is the first time we've spoken about it.
Yeah.
Is that do you think he's made the right call? If there was two positions going, a McLaren and Alpine, do you think he's picked the right one? And I'll give you a couple of reasons why. You're going to McLaren. You're up against Lando Norris, one of the hottest properties, touted that he will be a future world champion in F1. For someone that's so young, geez, he plays the game well. Bit of a teammate destroyer.
Yeah.
Whew, you know, and you can see in his attitude, he's got plenty of front. Would you want to go up against him as a rookie?
If I was Oscar Piastri, I'd be loving the chance to go up against that
Really?
guy. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
You've got to back yourself. You've got to believe in yourself, and I think I think you can take it to him.
Okay.
I'd give it a crack, and he's going to have they're going to give him a year to find his feet, aren't they? But
yep.
It wouldn't surprise me if he just jumped straight in that thing and went straight to the front. Like the form guide says he can.
True. That's very true. Probably the easier, when I say easier option, there's no easy option in F1, but the easier option maybe would have been to go to Alpine. You're up against Ocon, which would have been
pretty easy.
The reports are that I've heard, again from my source, I love my source, that he's been quicker than Ocon in testing anyway on the same day.
What nationality is Ocon? French, is he? French?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I know.
Wonder why he's in the car.
Yeah, so I'm not a super big fan, but anyway, that's just my opinion.
No, he's a French guy on a French team. They're going to keep him.
So at the end of the day, that would have been an easier target. He would have been on top of him straight up. So would that been more of a positive that he goes to Alpine? Because he knows he would have probably just come out and been in front of your teammate straight away. Where that puts you in the whole grid situation, I don't know, but would that have been a better option, knowing that you were going to be?
Well, have you known it and had the option of two? You know, it's a hard choice, but knowing that guy,
you'd still go with McLaren if you had the option of two. Forget all this contractual stuff. You had the option of two. You say, which way do I go? You'd still go to McLaren.
I reckon.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I reckon. Mate, I like McLaren because you've got a dynamic guy like Zach Brown that's got his hand on the tiller. You actually know what's going on there.
I was leaning towards going to Alpine.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought, you know what?
Being conservative.
Be the leader in this. I know it is conservative. That's not usually me, is it? And I would have thought, but then after doing a bit more digging and a bit more research into all this, and I have a strong feeling this is what guided the Piastri's team towards McLaren, is that rumours are rumours and facts that I've got hold of is that there's been a lot of key personnel have left Alpine during and towards the end of this year will be leaving Alpine. Key technical people. Some are actually going to McLaren and have gone to McLaren. Right?
Yeah, so what you're saying is
as well. So there's
Oscar's management knows the game. They knows what's happening.
Well, it's a bit. I suppose that you have to look at it a bit broader than just looking at A and B.
Yeah.
That okay, what makes A and B?
And what they got in the pipeline.
Yeah, exactly right. So there's key personnel. The rumour was that's why what made the decision. Well, there's two reasons why Alonso left. That was one, and the second one was he wanted a 2-year deal, and they would only offer one because they thought they'd put Oscar in
for next year
for 2024.
Okay.
But part of that decision was that key personnel were leaving. So Alonso said, "Oh, well, that's going to hurt how competitive the team's going to be."
Off he goes.
So again, yeah. So like I said, I was leaning more towards Alpine, but when I heard all these alleged facts, I thought, okay, maybe that's what influenced the decision. So, and you have to look at all that too.
It all started off by Vettel announcing his retirement.
Yeah,
that's how it all got kicked off.
It's amazing how one and all the dominoes fell with the rest of it. So it's interesting though, isn't it?
Yeah, but I reckon that guy will back himself against Norris. Like, do you reckon when Mick Doohan went and raced for Honda, he was worried about going up against Wayne Gardner?
True.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and you're right. You're dead right. The positives are that if he comes out on top, he'll look like an absolute superstar. Because if you beat what is perceived one of the best in the business, and you as competitive and start beating them straight up.
And what drives the team to be better? Two amazing drivers.
Two punching away. Yeah.
Two amazing drivers pushing each other.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what you need.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So I hope that's clarified a few things. And like I said, that was from it would have
anonymous source.
Anonymous source, but it was a source that had a financial contribution to his. So it's not just some Fred flog off the street. So because some of these genos don't do their homework properly, and let's work a bit more on
good investigative journalism there.
Yeah, it was good. Well, it was an interesting conversation too. It was an interesting hearing it all because we're just punters with F1 stuff like everyone else, and we're just looking at how we read it, and then when you actually get the full story, you go, oh, hang on, this is a bit different than what I'm reading. So, and at the end of the day, that's how people form opinions, is what they read, and they get emotional about it. And like I said, I didn't like some of the comments that were being bandied around and how it was handled. And like I said, that our Pena made a lot of statements on.
They're trying to muddy the waters, aren't they?
Yeah. And obviously create a bit of create a bit of mudslinging at him on potentially his way out the door. So, which is not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought that's cricket.
They're the ones that fucked it up. So.
Hey? Yeah. Just get on with life. Like at the end of the day, And now, second part. This is over to you because you're gonna fill us in because you're closer to it than I am because I'm just an armchair racer nowadays as far as supercars go and Gen 3 and all the rest of it. So you've got some interesting little stuff that you've dug up. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start?
We'll start with the car, the Gen 3?
Start with the car, Gen 3. What do you got on that?
Well, I've had a bit of a dig around.
Okay, cool.
Like you have. Rung a few teams, and there's some teams there that can still build some of their own parts, and then there's some teams that just buy everything in. But by the time you go through the parts list and buy everything you need to buy, you're close to 600 grand just in parts before you bolt that car together.
Okay.
And then by the time you get some spares and be on the grid, I reckon you're going to be close to $1 million to have a car in your trailer with spares ready to go for round one of the championship next year.
Serious?
Yeah. And the scary thing about all that is now the timeline to put that car together. So, what are we close to? Nearly in September.
Yep.
It's going to be a hard slog for the teams over Christmas to put all those cars together. So,
you reminded me of something there. Was it? Oh, it was probably longer than this time last year. It was probably mid last year, if not a bit earlier. Remember we made the call when they were still saying they were going to have the Gen 3 ready for this year, and we were saying, "Are you serious? Like, should be putting it off another year."
Yeah, well, they've had another year, and it's
lo
still
and behold,
nothing's really progressed. So
there's no way that was happening back in.
There's no way that was going to happen. But
21.
Yeah, to me, this Gen 3 thing is, if you're a team owner, this is a major disappointment. That car was about getting some capital costs down, making them cheaper to run, having less personnel, putting some value back into the team, so you can have a couple of spare cars sitting around. It just hasn't hit any of those targets. And it's
so these figures that
I've gone through. I've gone through the price list and just added everything up you got to buy and rung around and asked what stuff costs and spoke to suppliers and double check my figures and that's what it is. So it's
wow.
Yeah, the only thing that looks like it's going to be a saving is the engine.
Yep.
So the capital cost of the engine will probably be half, and hopefully the maintenance should be better. So but the rest of the cars just hasn't met any of that. And some of that's supply chain issues and parts and due to COVID and whatever. But it's missed its mark for help. If you're a team owner, you'd be thinking, how the hell has this happened?
So how are they going to afford that if you're looking up close to 1 million? On the track, or 2 million if you're a two-car team.
It's probably not a lot different to what they got now. Maybe a couple of $100 grand more than what they got. Or if you're just buying your car off 888 or another team, it's probably not that much bigger expense. It's all the stuff you got to chuck out because nothing's a carryover.
Yeah.
So you got a big capital cost. None of the wheels carry over. The wheel nuts don't carry over. The fuel system doesn't carry over. So it's a big capital cost to get going. So I think it's just missed its mark. A great opportunity to have a reset, bring the cost down, and and still I think ergonomically sitting in that car, it's still a compromise. I've spoken to the bigger drivers that drive that car, and they're not comfortable in there. It's still not right.
I remember when the Super Cheap Wildcard got announced last year, mid last year, and I was up at 888, and that's when the chassis was first getting. The first chassis was actually made, and I had a look at it, and when no one was around, I actually jumped in the thing and went. I was struggling in it, like my size. And I was struggling, and I thought, how's someone like Shane or Brody going to fit in this thing?
But that's what put the thing behind, because I had to take the car and remodify the cockpit area where the driver sits and rebuild the chassis. And the first one that's been modified to actually make the driver fit in there a bit nicer, it'll run at Sandown for the first time this coming weekend. So that car hasn't even hit the track yet. So we'll see how that goes on the weekend. But yeah, it's missed the boat there. One thing, like you talk to the team owners individually, and they're all blowing up, but no one's come out in public. They've stayed united. The rest of the management of the sports arguing with each other. The owners which we'll get onto, arguing in public, but the team owners have just gone, right, let's just close ranks here and get on with it, because the last thing they need is another bad story out there for their sponsors.
Oh, I know. And look, we get that. Yeah. And we get it, because there's an old saying, you never shit in your own backyard.
Yep.
So I get it. I get it why the teams aren't coming out and saying that. But the disappointing part about it is I look back to the era that we raced and ran teams and the teams that I ran for. And this would never happen to a Larry Perkins or a Gary Rogers or a Ross Stone or a Ross or Jimmy Stone under their watch, would they? They would have pulled it up well fast. Like, hang on, this is getting out of control.
Yep.
And they kept all this sort of stuff in check, because they were conscious of budgets, and it just seems now with the current owners and when I say owners, team owners,
yes,
they just seem to have gone. Well,
just
put their hands up and just like, tell us what we have to do, not instead of having a vested interest in it,
Yeah, the hardcore racers that the racing team was their business. Probably Brad's the only one left, right?
Pretty well.
All the rest of the teams are owned by high net worth individuals, people that have other businesses, so they're not on this flat out. That's probably why it's run away.
I mean, that's a big difference. There was I heard of some subsidies, or the car was being part subsidised. Is that right?
So part of the
first ones.
Yeah, so the Gen 3 payment, which is from Race, the owners of Supercars, I think it's around $400,000, which will go to each car on the grid to subsidise the build of the new car as a payment.
Only for the first build.
Yeah, only for the first build. So each car you build after that is going to cost you, $600,000 in parts and put it together. There's an opportunity there to reset and bring the bar lower and have a cheaper capital cost. And for me, I think it's just missed the boat. If I'm a team owner now with this new car coming in and I've got some old established drivers, this is the perfect opportunity to take a punt on a young guy, right? The old guys have got bad habits. Are they going to adapt to the cars quickly? Yep, I'm going to put a young guy in the car and I'm going to give it a rip. But when you put a young guy in the car, you take the risk of some crashes, right? You accept that. We've all been through that. When I've had, when we had Tim Slade in our team the first year, remember that? The first 3 races, all we did was fix the car. Then he eventually got going. So, that should have been an opportunity to clean the decks, bring some young blood in there, give some young guys a chance. And with the car being that expensive, I think some of the team owners are going to be reluctant to do that.
And I think you're absolutely spot on, because I think when you look at the way NASCAR went. Going from a category that, the cars in early NASCAR days were still relatively cheap in comparison, but they had oval track cars and road course cars, short track,
and speedway cars.
They had 20 cars per driver, So they reduced it by saying, no, we've got one car, we've got a car that's going to be perform better, a bit faster, but something that if you wreck the thing, it's not a national debt to fix it. And the racing's been unbelievable in NASCAR, and that from when it was on a decline, is all of a sudden rising again to the heights it used to be.
Yeah,
because of the action.
Well, the action, the cars are a bit more on the edge. It's gone from 15-inch tyre to an 18-inch tyre, and all the younger guys adapted to it straight away, and the racing got good. Like Kevin Harvick's only just come to grips with that car. Like he's won the last 2 races on the trot. He wasn't even going to make the playoffs. Yeah, so all the guys have struggled. The younger guys have got on with it straight away.
But also the show, because they trail a lot of cars. Because heaps more yellow flags.
Heaps more yellow flags. The car's obviously a bit harder to drive, and then over there they don't care if they wreck them. So talking to team owners in NASCAR, they've come in with a car that's a catalogue car now. You go and buy the parts, cheaper to buy, cheaper to put on the track, but they're tearing up a lot more shit than they have done before, and they've got to go and buy that part. So
but it balances back out. It's probably balanced out, but the difference is about the whole thing, which is the most important thing, is entertainment.
Entertainment's great.
Entertainment.
And more people have got a chance to win. What have they had? 16 different winners this year?
Yeah.
16 different drivers have won races, so it's worked for them.
Oh, I reckon the way they've done it's absolutely spot on. The cars are modernised. They look more like a road-going version now with the bodyworks that they've put on it. But the difference is, if you're a team owner and you're going to spend money, you don't mind spending money if it's creating entertainment, keeping the fans happy and keeping the sponsors happy, and more sponsors come into the category because the entertainment's so good.
Yeah,
one comes with the other. Without entertainment, you don't get sponsors, you don't get money. You can't forget that part of it. But if you have a toy that's too expensive out the gate, too paranoid about crashing it, which harms the entertainment, then you won't get the third thing, which is money.
No, you won't. And then, like, some of our biggest headlines this year have been the car getting repaired.
Yeah.
The car gets crashed in Darwin. The team rushed to get it fixed again. And it was a $250,000 rebuild. How's that a headline? The headline should be the competition between the drivers and the teams. So,
of course.
I think we've just missed the boat a bit with this car. Great opportunity to bring it back a bit and reset, but the horse is bolted now. The teams have just got to get on with it. Again, the teams have been left to bear the brunt of this, and Supercars have let it get away. It's on them.
Is it totally on them? Because
they were in charge of it.
Yeah, true.
They were in charge of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's but how much responsibility do they, like you said before, do the teams need to take on this by not, rejecting some of the stuff that was going on, or did it get to a stage where I know Triple Eight drove it more than anyone because
it wasn't going anywhere.
They got sick of sitting around. So
it wasn't going there. They've stepped into the breach and then come up with this. Basically, had the opportunity to design and build the cars, and if you give them a project, they're going to make something. That's what they do. They engineer stuff. So I think it's no surprise that they've come up with a car like that because that's what they do.
Yeah, it just always goes back to the same thing where we look. We even looked on earlier shows where we talked about the Mark car.
Yeah.
And then they've just produced a new car that's just an absolute weapon, but I bet you it's half the price of what this is.
It's $270,000. I saw it run the other day out there. It's got an LS engine in it, which is parallel to the one that's going to be in the Gen 3 car. It was doing low sevens out there.
Low sevens?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
A Queensland Raceway?
Look, it can be done.
Yeah. So if you got something like that and just cut the aero off of it to make it a bit
Yeah, I think so.
Then they're much easier. Happy days. So.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's achievable to build a car for that. That's what I'm getting at, because we obviously don't want to, say, oh, well, they're doing a bad job, or in our personal opinion, doing a bad job with designing this car if there wasn't an alternative. But clearly, there is alternatives out there, and there is alternatives to build a race car cheaper.
Yeah, there is. So
for something that's fairly similar. Oh, what's a NASCAR?
Oh, they're around 400.
Are they?
Yeah.
For the current one?
Yeah. Yeah, they're around 400 grand. So that's, but their budgets are a lot bigger too, and they race that thing on everywhere they go. Look,
so 400 grand with the budgets they got would be like 100 grand, really, in reality, because their budgets are so much bigger.
Yeah, they're so much bigger, but they've only got, before each driver would have 20 cars at his beck and call.
Yep.
Now they, the teams might have three or four cars sitting there.
Mm. So they're saving money anyway.
Saving major money on capital costs.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Let's get into the. You're going to have to guide me on this, because, again, as an armchair racer now, I don't understand half of this with the whole buyout. We did understand, because we talked about it initially, between race, ARG, but there's so much going on, and it seems to be a lot of infighting going on as well. And
that's the thing, Russ.
It's
obviously a messy marriage, right?
There's a lot of parties. I didn't realise initially how many parties are involved, because there's investments, people that are investing in it along with the race. Just race itself has got a lot of investors into it as well.
Yep.
Then of course there's Barry and Gary Rogers with ARG.
Brian
so
Boyd.
So what's the latest with all that, with the marriage there?
Well, if you wind it back how they got together, they joined forces. So you had the consortium led by Mark Scaife, and that were bidding for, they had a go out buying supercars, and then you had ARG that were having a look at buying supercars, and then those two groups joined together for a joint bid and ultimately bought supercars and formed a race. And I don't know who the shareholdings was and what entity it was in, but it was ARG reportedly was a shareholder, 30% I think of race, which is Gary and Barry and Brian Boyd. And the philosophy there, if you read Gary's letter to the teams, was they wanted to unify the sport, bring the two categories together and have one joint thing and make the sport better. So that obviously didn't happen. They didn't agree with the direction it was going. So from what I can understand, Boyd's already been bought out, and Gary probably not too far away from that.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I mean, there's been a lot of articles, and it's all public knowledge, or this of what.
That's the thing. Why are they bluing in public?
It's the letter that got leaked to the media that Gary Rogers put out, saying about his intentions for the sport and something he doesn't see happening. Hence a bit of disharmony amongst the group as well. But what you said was absolutely right. It said our original plan was to grow the whole of motorsport. So the offer was about getting the best return for the investments and delivering best on-track entertainment packages. So clearly his vision was to have, TCR and their associated categories, support categories, work in with supercars and make almost a super package, of entertainment at certain events, which would cater for everyone, and try and bring all that together. That if you go for a day or weekend at the races, you're just entertained from start to finish. And which in concept was a good idea.
And you should get some economy of scales there with joint management and joint TV production, and even if there's two separate events, there could have been some ways there where you could have worked together. But clearly, there's still they're not on the same page.
No. And like I said, this is all quotes. It's quite freely available online. But one quote here that I see is about Shane Van Gisbergen not being allowed to run the Trans Am car.
Yeah, that just
at Queensland Raceway, and I think to the point being, well, hang on, if we're trying to include and harmonise all the categories, why would you stop one of the star drivers who wants to drive in that category that will clearly help that category and help the whole show? Yeah, why would you stop it?
But why would you rob the fans of the opportunity to see Shane in a Trans Am car?
Yeah.
It's okay for him to go and do a rally car, a GT car, but you stop him driving the Trans Am car. Why?
Well,
why would you think they'd stop him driving the Trans Am car, Russ?
Yeah, well,
maybe it's an inexpensive version of
what they probably should be.
Of their overcomplicated one, and it just makes them look stupid. That's the only way I could think that they would want to stop that, because the fan on the hill wouldn't know too much difference between that Trans Am car and the Gen 3.
But when it's under the same umbrella, why would you stop that? It just seems bizarre.
It just makes you look stupid, Russell.
Well,
especially when you let the guy go and do everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, he states here, I can see now this idea is not a shared vision. I mean, his plans were, and I think other people were very focused on one part of motorsport in this country, and that's just supercars. That's what it says here. That was a quote. So I'm not saying anything out of the ordinary here. But it's, it's not a good look. All this going on.
To let that have an infighting in the boardroom and have it in the boardroom and leave it in there.
Yeah.
You see that a lot. You see that a lot. Well, you don't see it because you don't know what's happening. But to have that going on in public, if I'm a team owner and I've got to ring up Red Bull or Truck Assist or one of those sponsors and explain to them what's going on here, it wouldn't be a good phone call. Like, who's actually in charge of the sport? It doesn't make I've never seen anything like that before in my life.
I think we talk a lot about. We've spoken a lot about with the Gen 3, how it was a chance to start new. I think the change of management and ownership of supercars was the same. It was the chance to start new. Clear the board, clear the driftwood, clear the bench warmers, start all again and start fresh, right? Let's go in a new direction with new people, and let's if we're gonna jump in, but it looks like it's, well, from the outset, if you didn't read any media, you wouldn't have known anything's different. Would you really?
No, but in their defence too, I think you want to get your feet under the desk for a while.
True.
And the one thing there is a massive shortage at the moment is skilled people wanting to work.
Yep.
Even if you wanted to make some changes in management level in supercars and people that work there, they're struggling to keep people engaged. People just aren't working, and there's a massive shortage of skilled people around. So, the want might be there to tidy a fair bit of that up, but who are they going to replace them with?
Yeah, fair enough. No, I see your point there. Because I suppose you've still got contracts in place, and as far as some of the government-funded events, that probably you want people there that know the business, and I get that, but I think there's some aspects of it though. It just seems to be rolling on, same old.
If you're sitting watching that at home, nothing's changed.
No, you wouldn't know. I think sometimes it's there's a lot of things I don't like. I think it's still too technical with the races. When I look at the races and I hear explanations of fuel drops and fuel dumps and fuel burn and tyres and this and that, I'm going, getting a headache. I just want to see a race. I just want to see a race.
I'll just go back to the cost, mate. You want a car that's cheap enough, you can bang doors and have two of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what you want to see.
That's what you want to see.
That's what you just want to see a race, and sometimes it just gets too technical and too involved, and I always put myself if I'm watching the race that I'm just, so you can't always cater for people that know the sport.
Yep.
You're never going to grow the sport if you only cater for the converted, the people that are following it. But you can't forget people that to grow a sport, you need new people.
Yep.
You need new eyeballs, new viewers.
New events, different.
And to get that, you've got to be mindful of them, that someone that knows nothing about motorsport just happens to tune in on the day and have a look. And if they're sitting there and going, and they're not technical in respect to how motorsport or the race works, you don't want to be looking at all these things and facts and figures and graphs and, oh, you've got to take this amount of fuel and, oh, he's gonna lead because he's got a shorter fuel drop. Stop it. Just stop it. Like, I just want to see someone who turns on, it's like, if you watch the athletics, someone running around a track, the race starts and whoever crosses the line is a winner. You watch a swimming race. They jump off the block, swim, guy that touches the wall, or the person, or guy or gal that touches the wall is a winner. It's easy. But it seems so complicated, dude, that, you just go, well, hang on, I just want to see the start of the race, go ram, bang, 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 they cross the line, the winner, without all this technical crap.
Well, the pit stop's an artificial thing that's been invented to create some passing.
Yeah.
So that, and that's what's overcomplicated. So, with this new car, is the racing going to be better?
If they're saying lap times are about the same, yes.
The drivers are saying the lap times are the same. The braking distances are actually shorter.
Yeah, well, if the braking distances are shorter, that kills it straight away.
So
you got to lengthen your braking distances.
If we start out next year and the racing's unbelievable, people will forget about how much the car cost them.
Yep.
And if the show's good, you'll swallow that pill. But if we roll out with the same stuff we've got going on this year and people following each other around, where we're just praying for rain so we can see a good race,
I think you brought up a very, very valid point when we were talking during the week about team and team ownership and all the rest of it. That categories like Super 2 and even Porsche teams. You look at someone like McElrea, who run a very successful Porsche team in various categories.
Runs at a high level too.
Yeah, run at a very high level, very professional. Those sort of guys, an incentive to come in to the main supercars game, but with the costs associated with it, you couldn't do it or wouldn't do it. And wouldn't it be great to see some of the Super 2 teams all of a sudden, like MSR, like Matt Stone. It was a little bit easier for him because all the facilities are already there.
Yeah.
Through his dad with Jimmy Stone.
But they stepped up. But they've got a good partner in Jason Gomersall, who's a racer in his own right, but a very successful businessman who's a partner in that team as well. So that you need someone that's going to chuck some money, invest some capital if you're going to start a race team up. So the chances of a Ritter or a McElrea or one of those teams that actually is a racing team, not a high net worth person coming into the sport and getting some races back into team ownership, the chance of that happening is I think, nil.
Yeah, which is a shame because that would be.
And the races are missing from the category. You're missing that input from people that actually go racing for a living.
Well, it's one of the few things that I used to agree with Scaife about. When I used to chat with him in the early days of commentary land, that he always used to say, we need more races in running teams.
Yeah, and what have we got?
He always used to say to me, he said, I used to think about getting into owning a team, and I said, well, right, yeah.
I'd rather have my house.
Yeah, I could do it, and I'd probably like doing it, but I don't want to give away all my hard-earns that are exactly that, the hard-earned. I'm not going to give them away just for shits and giggles, it's...
But this knocks on too. Like if you look at what Super 2 is going to be next year, it's going to be ZBs and Mustangs, and they're expensive cars. Like a budget next year for Super 2 for 6 races is going to be probably 650, 700 grand.
That's a lot of brass.
It's 100 grand a race, mate.
Yeah.
Just it just knocks on.
Where's new up and comers going to find that?
Well, you're not going to get. It's the sports to me has become elitist. To me it just looks like it's high net worth people going car racing, and it just knocks on. The more expensive you make it, it knocks all the way on, and it's. If you're in go-karts and you've got a modest budget and you've managed to get through, how are you going to get through? You're just going to go, it's too hard, mate.
Yeah. Interesting, though. But anyway, I think that's... it's definitely shone a bit of light on the whole subject of that because, again, this is something we get asked a lot about. So, and that's what we said with the show was always about, in just trying to fill in the holes, basically. That others can't. So...
So what do you think will happen to ARG then? And the categories that run there?
That's a good point. I mean, it's just because they got some good, I won't call them support categories. They're categories in their own right. They're not support categories. They're really good, strong categories, aren't
so
they?
Have you...
So they're popular, they're and affordable.
What would you take if you were owned supercars, race, and went, if you looked at what ARG had, and you wouldn't take everything they had, what would you take? GT and Trans Am, that'd be about it, wouldn't it?
GT's a bit slim nowadays, isn't it? I'm not sure about GT.
It's a link to the manufacturers, but Russ.
True.
And you own the 12 hour.
If it got back,
you own the 12 hour, but you don't own the GT championship.
Yeah. Okay.
I think you need that.
Yeah. Still a lot of GT cars kicking around. If they put some incentives there to make it a bit fairer, because we're getting a bit out of control with pro drivers going in. And I think if they made it back to that, it was the amateur racer and the pro still had half a shot in getting a result, I think that would be a good thing to prop them up. All of a sudden, there's a lot of GT cars that are collecting dust in the corners of factories would come out. So yeah, you're right there. Definitely Trans Am. Is TO2 the same?
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah,
different.
TO2 runs on double ASA sanctioning, and the Trans Am's run on Motorsport Australia.
Yeah, so you'd have to take same car. So you'd have to take Trans Am because, I mean, how popular are they? Punters love them.
Punters love them. You got 30 car grids that have just organically grown. The cars are pretty simple and easy to run.
So you got to have that. And so where does that leave TCR?
I think you just bury it. I'll put it to this: could race by at ARG and wreck it and scuttle it, and just take what they wanted out of it.
Totally, yeah. Does TCM come under ARG?
Yep.
Touring Car Masters.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd take that, wouldn't you?
I reckon you'd take that.
Yeah.
You'd take that. So could they buy ARG out and just go, we don't need that, we don't need that, we don't need that. We'll just take this stuff here and put that together.
They do. Speaking of Trans Ams, right, what's this stuff I've been reading about the rear windscreens deforming and carrying on? And it all came to a head at Queensland Raceway. I saw some images.
Yeah, those images, it's been happening since Phillip Island. So what basically happens if the stays break, the window, the glass house at the back can cave in and put more air over the rear wing. So
the pictures I saw are pretty severe. Like the thing was really, really ducked down. So what does that do?
It just puts more air over the rear wing, and there's two things going on. Like it's happened to our car at Bathurst, and we just fixed it so it didn't happen again. Because to me, I think it's a that part's not designed to flex, and if it keeps flexing, it'll break, and it could end up on the road or in the crowd or something. But obviously the GRM cars are, Marcus. Your mate Marcus is in charge of those cars. He's either doing it because he's doing something else and he wants people to concentrate on something that he's doing somewhere else.
You reckon there's a bit of NASCAR?
There's a bit of gamesmanship going on, but look, to me, GRM basically own Trans Am through their ARG connection. To me, it's a bit smelly. They should be shouldn't be doing that. That's what that category is not about. That if you're a guy that's there with your dad in a toolbox and you bought a Trans Am car and you turn up and you want to compete against those guys and they're taking the piss, you wouldn't be happy about it. And that's what's happened.
Because I was reading an article that Nathan Hearn, is he leading the championship?
Yeah, he's leading it. Yeah,
leading the championship. Come out and basically said they sort of knew what was.
Oh, you know,
it was going on.
The roof stays are adjustable, so you can just adjust them down or adjust them up. It's been going on too long. John McCorkindale, who ran Super 2 and Super 3, he's bought himself a car and he's seen them doing this and he's come out on Facebook and called them out, and good on him for doing it, but it shouldn't have got to that. I think it smells.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Righto.
Interesting, yeah, because they were quite graphic, you know, and of how much they pushed down, so.
Yeah, and you know, obviously, Marcus has come back from America, and Owen's been racing in America, and
will they fix it before the next round? Or?
Yeah, well, that rule book's got plenty of holes in it, mate. It's a pretty simple rule book. So if you wanted to go there and really take the piss, you could.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's what Trans Am's about. It's about having a car that you take out of the box and you go and race, and it's not about exploiting the rules, and to do it so graphically too, and then say, yeah, we're doing it deliberately. Mm-hmm. It's not what it's about.
Yeah, I suppose. When you're at that level, you want to keep it, you know, like you said, for the trailer races and all the rest of it, you want to keep it, because that's what it's about, and you can never lose that. That's what I like about it. You know, like TA2 and Trans Am, that's what I like about it, that it is grassroots, you know, and you don't want to be taken to the next level, because that's how you get out of control and end up with a Gen 3.
Yeah, the idea of that car is you run it as you get it delivered, and if you start tweaking stuff too much, it'll just get out of control. You know, Motorsport Australia probably got to step up and, you know, put a bit more technical people around that category and keep them in control. But you know, there's an honour system there too. I think, you know, there's you know, if you don't want to get into a Trans Am arms race,
it's one of the few categories that you'd like to everything done on a handshake, really.
I think you've summed it up in one, mate. So in my opinion, as you say, if you own that category and your cars are doing that, that's not a good look.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. Okay. Well, I hope everyone's enjoyed our summary of a couple of things which we have been asked the most about, and filled in a few of those gaps as well. And don't forget to tune in next week, because we've just finished a test on a vehicle that it's blown our minds. It's just incredible, and if there's any one vehicle on this planet that was designed for the dude, this is it. So it was cool. So make sure we'll give you a little couple of snippets at the end of this show, just to fill in the gaps, and it is good. So make sure you tune in. We're going to have that the following week, because we've used up all our time. And thank you, sir. It's good to be back.
Good to be back, Russ.
Thanks to Super Cheap Auto as well,
yeah,
and to our viewers.
Make it super.
See you next time.
See ya.